Hi everyone, it's Daisy. Welcome to today's video. Today we are going to be swatching our top 5 shading inks. So I have 5 bottles of ink here. I've looked at which of our inks are most popular, and according to our records, these shading inks are the most popular among our customers. So I'm excited to tell you about which ones they are. And if you don't know what shading inks are, I can give you a brief explanation here, but really you can just skip ahead to the video and see some real examples of shading inks. And I think visually you'll be able to see exactly what they are as soon as you see them. So shading inks are inks that once dry appear to be multiple colors. Sometimes shading inks are multi-shading inks or chromo shading inks. And these colors are really like multiple colors once they dry. So you'll see that depending on where the ink pools when you're writing, that color will be different from when there's a very light stroke of ink. So the color variations can vary anywhere in one ink from like 2 to 3 different colors to just different shades of the same color of ink. So it could be like shading from light to dark blue, or it could be shading pink to green. So different inks shade differently, and not all inks shade at all. A lot of inks don't shade at all. Some people don't particularly like this property of ink at all, but some people really do, like myself. So this video is for anybody who's a really big fan of shading inks. We've picked out our top 5 here at Yoseka. A lot of our team members are big fans of shading inks, so we do have a lot of them. There are some really important factors when it comes to shading inks, and I'll name some of these. So one of the factors that really matters is the thickness of your pen or the wetness of your pen. So today for this ink swatching video, I'll be using a glass dip pen, and I'll be using some cotton swabs, which I'll dip into the ink. I'll do like a deep wet dip into the ink and just write with my glass pen, and I'll just start swatching with my cotton swab, and that will really exaggerate the effects of the shading just so that you can see it for the purposes of this video. But just know that if you're writing with a regular fountain pen, which has like more of a predictable feed of ink, the dramatic effects of the shading ink are going to be a little bit lower key, so they're not going to be as exaggerated as they are in this video. Another factor when it comes to shading ink is the paper that you're using. Paper is really, really important. You want to choose a paper that is less absorbent so that the ink will stay on the surface of the paper a little bit longer, as opposed to being absorbed into the paper. The longer it stays on the surface of the paper, the more it will pool in certain areas, and the pooling is really where we see shading occur. So non-absorbent, often coated papers that often take a little bit longer to dry, to be honest, are going to be those papers that bring out the shading qualities of ink best. So that's about it. I'm going to go ahead and start swatching away for you all, starting with, and this is in no particular order, I will start with Sailor Manyo Fuji. So here's the bottle of Sailor Manyo Fuji. I'm gonna open it. This is a purple ink, and on my desk here I have MD paper, which is this large A4 pad, and then I have an A5 sheet of Tomoe River. So I'll be swatching on both papers so you guys can see. And then with my dip pen, I'm gonna dip in a nice wet dip. And I'll do the same on the Tomoe River paper. Okay, don't mind my fingerprint there where I totally put my finger on that. Sorry about that. Okay, I'm just cleaning my glass pen off with some water. So that was Sailor, Manyo, Fuji. The Manyo collection is a particularly, you'll see right here, this one is even labeled dual shading, which means that there are multiple colors coming out of it as opposed to just shading dark and light of one color. The Manyo collection by Sailor is one in particular that shades a lot or just has like particularly outstanding properties. So the next shading ink also happens to be a Manyo ink. It's called Haha. I think this ink was released back in like 2020 or something. And I just remember it was highly anticipated when it was coming out. I'll start with the dip pen here since I already dipped it. And my cotton swab. Okay, and I will move on to the next one. So the next ink that I'm going to be swatching is the Ink Institute Cat at Noon. This might be a lesser known ink in general, but it is really popular here at Yoseka. I think partly because this line of inks has like cats in the label art here, so they're really, really cute. But this one in particular is a very beautifully shading color, and it's like this bright red color that shades a little bit yellow, you'll see. Okay, and the next color I'm gonna swatch is Sailor Ink Studio 123. If you like Google shading inks, this ink will pretty much always pop up in any search results because it was one of the earliest inks, I would say. Like, these are all released after 2020 for the most part that I'm gonna be talking about, but Sailor Ink Studio came way before, so it was one of the earliest shading inks. And it was such a cool property when it first came out and really pretty unique. So I'm excited to show you guys. Many of you might already know about Sailor Ink Studio 123. If you don't, and you don't know what shading inks are, then I definitely think you should give Sailor Ink Studio 123 a try. Okay, and the last one that I'm swatching is a Dominant Industry ink. It has a French name that's inspired by a painting. It's called Soleil, Couchant et Etretat. I don't know how to say that. It is one of the darker shades, and in the context of all these inks, it has a unique color to it. This is a little snippet of the painting, but the shading really does kind of remind me of like this sky right here. So it's very beautiful. Let's take a look. Okay, so there you have it. Those are our top 5 shading inks here at Yoseka. There's a lot more shading inks than this. It's kind of also interesting that if you look at these inks, a lot of them are in similar colorways. I tried to pick out kind of different color shading inks for the purposes of this video, but if you look at shading inks in general, they all tend to be a little bit lighter, less saturated colors, and that is because, you know, when you're looking at how the ink pools and how that affects the darker colors coming out of inks. If you're already starting with a darker color of ink, like a really dark green or a really dark red, that just kind of limits the direction of shading that you can go in the beginning. So there's not a lot of darker, really saturated colors of ink that have very exaggerated shading properties. So those are really, that's part of the reason why these are all lighter colors of ink to begin with. A lot of shading inks tend to be light purples, light blues, and light greens. Oh, and also light browns have been really popular as well. And I'm not really sure exactly why that is. You know, I don't know a ton about color science or color theory or anything like that. If anyone can explain it in the comments, you're welcome to do so. But I have found that a lot of shading inks are often the same color combinations, which I find interesting. But if you like shading inks, be sure to let us know in the comments which ones are your favorites. And thank you so much for watching this video. Bye!